Hello everybody and welcome to another re-rank video. I've done this so far for Edge of the Earth, Dunwich, and Carcosa, which means today we're here at the Forgotten Age and we're going to be re-ranking these cards 5-ish years later. It just said it came out in 2018 and this is August 25th, 2023. So if you haven't seen one of these videos before, well, welcome. Happy to have you. But also, I'm just going to be looking at all these cards and rating them with my own personal rating, which I'm not going to pretend is the correct rating, but it is the correct rating, on a scale from busted to I regret playing this. Time Roller, how's it going? So, this is pretty simple. Busted means a card that, in my opinion, is just like freaking busted. It's very powerful. It doesn't demand a lot for it to be so powerful. And busted is a rare tier. I only have, I think like 5 or 6 cards total that are in busted so far. So don't expect a lot of cards to be up in busted. Fantastic is a card that's very, very, very good. Some would even say fantastic. I wouldn't, but some would. But it's not like busted level. It's just a card that I think is like very powerful. Doesn't demand a lot, or alternatively is very consistent in how powerful it is. Great is the same kind of thing, but its ceiling is like a little bit lower. And then we kind of get into good, which is a card that is good, right? It's a card that's going to always get the job done, but the job that it gets might not be particularly like powerful for what the card brings out. Fine is a card that I'll include, but most of the time I'm kind of just like happy to see it, but I'm not like jumping out of, like, I'm not being like, ooh, that's a good card when I draw it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can work with this. And then I regret playing this, which is a card that I don't think there's cards that are like, there are cards that are bad in Arkham, but this is like the closest tier where we will get to cards that I think personally are bad to unplayable. However, one thing to say is that a lot of cards kind of work in packages in Arkham Horror. So it's one of those things where cards that like are really good with 4 other cards, I don't think are great. I think most of them are kind of just fine or good. So it's one of those things where like, well, I will probably refer to a card in a package that being great. Overall, though, the card might rate lower because of that. And that's just how I approach cards, because I want my cards to work all of the time the best they can. Does this include return twos? No, because as far as I'm concerned, return twos don't exist anymore, so I don't even want to talk about them. They don't exist. They're not being printed. They're probably never going to be printed again. So I think it's just time we move on and we don't talk about those cards. We pretend they don't exist in videos until they are reprinted or there's any sort of sign that they will be put into another box somewhere else. But return twos, no return two cards, because as far as I am concerned, they do not exist anymore. Okay, so should we dive in and get this show on the road? How did I do this before? How do I read this card? How did I read this card? I think if I had it like this. Is this too big? One Tobin, how's it going? Because now I can actually read the card. I couldn't read it before. It's perfect. You'd love to hear it. I don't want to see any cards poking out the bottom, though. Like little naughty little beans just poking their heads in. Perfect. Alright, one thing as well is that on each tier, I'm not going to be ranking them within each tier. I'm not going to be going to that much into the details. Just the tier they're on, they're with their friends, and that's all that matters. Okay, Survival Knife. This is a 2-cost asset. It's an item weapon melee, takes up the hand slot. As an action, you can fight. You get +1 fist for this attack. As a reaction, after an enemy attack deals damage to you, during the enemy phase, exhaust Survival Knife and fight. This attack targets the attacking enemy. You get +2 fist and deal +1 damage for this attack. I think this is a... okay. Survival Knife 2, which doesn't exist, is fantastic. It's one of the best weapons in the game. This one, I think it's still very good, if not great, right? I think the card is a really good weapon. if you're planning on taking damage, you're kind of built around it, right? You're not putting this in like your Schizo tool and being like, oh my god, what have I done? Right? I think it's a great weapon. I'm gonna put it up in the great tier. Some things that kind of like hurt it a little bit is that if an enemy only deals horror, you're screwed. The bottom action won't trigger, which used to bother me, but then like the flavor sat with me for a bit, and I was like, no, that makes sense. That makes sense because it's when they're dealing damage to you, they're up close and personal, right? But when they are a ghost and they're scaring you, they're going bleh from 5 feet away. You can't really stab them with a survival knife, right? So it used to bother me, and while mechanically it's still like annoying, flavorfully it actually kind of makes sense to me now. However, with all that said, this is usually an offhand weapon, so you have like knife in one hand, gun in another, and you look like this, so you look really cool. But it's a great weapon. It's great. Venturer. 4-cost ally asset. He has soaks for 2 and 2. He has 3 supplies. As a lightning bolt, spend a supply and exhaust Venturer. Place 1 supply or ammo on an asset controlled by an investigator at your location. This is nice and simple. I think this is just a good card. I don't think it's great. I think that it does its job in its home very well. You're going to know when you want this card, and in those decks, it's very good, and it doesn't require a lot. It requires you to have a gun in play, or a thing that uses supplies, and I think that's a very easy ask. However, he only gives you 1 bullet a turn, because he's like, nah, you only get 1 of these this turn. Which isn't annoying, but it's just something to be aware of. It's just a good card. I think it's good. Venturer is a nice, good card. Trusted. 1 cost, upgrade event. It's fast. Play only during your turn. Attached to an ally asset you control. Attached asset gets +1 health and +1 sanity. By the way, you Orange, thank you so much for 6 months at the Golden Table. Thank you for your support. It's much appreciated. It's very kind of you. So attached ally you control gets +1 health and +1 sanity. Oh. I'm honestly, so for me, this card, while I'm looking at it right now, I'm feeling it's top of good, bottom of great. I think this is a very good card, and it doesn't require a lot. I think I'm going to put it in the good tier, because I don't think it goes up to great, but I think the card is, it once again, it asks very little, right? It asks for you to have an ally in play and 1 resource. And that is, like, not anything at all. That is like very, very minor. So obviously this is nice with people like Guard Dog, with like Beat Cop, you know, Field Agent as well, right? I think that you're gonna know the deck that you want it in, and I think in like the right deck, this card can be absolutely fantastic. But it requires very little. But I think it's just a good card overall, when you like look at it in like kind of just like as its scope on the whole thing. Great use of the Elder Sign art, right? And yes, it does make the Red Tarot look pretty bad in comparison, but that's not that hard, to be honest. I think it's a good card. Reliable. 1 cost, 1 experience, upgrade, fast, play only during your turn. Attached to an item as you control, while resolving a triggered ability on an attached asset, you get +1 to each of your skills. How many Unexpected Courages do you want for 1 experience and 1 resource, right? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. And if you attack twice, you get 1 Unexpected Courage. If you have 2 of these in play, you get an Unexpected Courage for 2 resources and 2 experience. This card's very good. I think I'm going to be putting it up in the great tier, because it demands very, very little. And it helps you so damn much, right? If you are fighting with an item, Reliable will do better than, for example, Ace of Swords, I think. Like, if you're planning on fighting with 1 weapon for a very long time, you probably want to buy this over Ace of Swords, because then you're banking on, like, how often is the game testing your fist, right? And the answer is not enough for you to care. And that one, you're kind of just like hoping that you get there, right? And this one is just, if you're going to be fighting with the same weapon over and over and over again, play this over Ace of Swords, man. Like, it's just really damn good if you're planning on fighting with one weapon. If you're planning on switching with a bunch of weapons, why the fuck are you playing Reliable in your deck? Right? Like, why are you doing that? But if you're planning on fighting with one weapon over and over and over again, or using one item, because it's also just an item asset over and over and over again, I see like on Lantern, yeah, that sounds pretty sick, right? It's a good card. It's a very good card, and it, once again, asks very little. Dr. Ellie Horowitz, a 3-cost ally that's soaks for 1 damage and 2 horror. After it enters play, search the top 9 cards of your deck for a relic asset and attach it to or shuffle your deck. Each relic asset attached to Dr. Ellie Horowitz does not take up any slots. So, the downside to Dr. Ellie Horowitz is that she doesn't give you a book and a resource every time you investigate. The problem with Dr. Ellie is, of course, that she is she pales in comparison to what certain other Seeker allies can do. Even if you look at someone like Lab Assistant, right? Even if you look at Lab Assistant, it's Lab Assistant has a reason to be run just generally over Dr. Ellie Horowitz. However, with all of this said, I do not think Dr. Ellie herself is a bad card. I think she is even actually really good for what she gives you. You get to search 9 cards, which is like the standard search for a relic asset, and attach it to her, and you get to put it into play. That's really good value for 3 resources. Now, if you whiff, yeah, that sucks. But why have you whiffed? That's a question that you don't need to ask Ellie. You need to ask yourself as a deck builder, right? Just like it's one of those things where you just have to have a reason to run her over a lot of other Seeker allies. And most of the time, you kind of just feel like you're like like you have to find a reason not to. Yeah, because there's also Winning Green, who also kind of just outclasses Dr. Ellie. But the free play is a very powerful effect, and taking up like slots is also a really powerful effect. But it's just one of those things where it's just a good effect, but she's very outclassed, right? She's a good card, though. All right, Ancient Stone. This is the one you have to upgrade. If you succeed, discover an additional clue. You +3 Shroud, and you do the thing. Get out of here. Get out of here, Windows alert. All right. Ancient Stone, 1 cost, 1 experience, hand slot, investigate. Your location gets +3 Shroud with this investigation. If you see, discover an additional clue your location, discard Ancient Stone and record your campaign log that you've identified the stone. Next to this, record the difficulty of the skill test. All right, so this is I actually think this is a very interesting level 0, base version of the research cards. It does cost 1 experience. It's not a level 0, but it is a base version of one of these cards. So let's talk about this. I think like once again, these guys, the level 0, like sorry, not the level 0. The base version of these kind of just all live in fine because they just exist to be upgraded out of. However, this one's This one's like probably one of the funnest ones to solve, right? Because you gotta try to make the difficulty really high, and you feel rewarded for making the difficulty very high. And when you get to the upgraded versions, you are rewarded for making the difficulty really high. I also, it being a 1 XP was quite annoying until in the thick of it made it a lot easier to get this in your level 0 deck, because then, like, for example, even in you could build a Daisy deck where where you can get into also down the rabbit hole and get this in there. I think that it's in the thick of it, while a card that I don't enjoy as kind of just the blanket what the card does, in the thick of it, just giving 3 experience to anyone for trauma opens up a lot of different possibilities for what a starting deck could be. I still don't like what the card is as a whole, but it makes this card more playable. I'm going to not talk about this one. We're going to get to the upgrades. It's just fine. Extra clue, +3 Shroud, all fun things. The Tooth of Eztli. 3 cost, takes up the accessory slot. It's an item and a relic. You get +1 brain and +1 foot while resolving an ability on a treachery card. As a reaction, after you succeed a skill test while resolving an ability on a treachery card, exhaust Tooth of Eztli and draw a card. Huh, interesting card, huh? Interesting. I've played it a lot, and it's always done work. So I'm stuck between like good and fine. I'm never like excited to draw it, and I'm never excited to play it. But then when it's in play, it does stuff, right? Like it really like, you're like, wow, I've drawn 3 cards from this, you know? And you're like, wow, it's helped me pass like 2 tests that I shouldn't have passed, you know? The problem is though, it's an accessory. Like that's the big problem with Tooth of Eztli, right? Where it's a very competitive slot. I like the idea of using it with Dr. Ellie, as Bryn calls it, the friendship bracelets. That's really good. I'm looking at this card though, and I can't see myself rating it lower than good. I'm just thinking about it. I think the card, like, the effect on the card is really good. And, like, if you don't have a plan for your accessory slot at all and you just want to, like, draw cards, right? I think it's good. I'm going to put it in good. I think it's a good enough card. I think it's better than fine. I think it's good. It's just, like, it's going to draw you cards. It's going to protect you in the Mythos phase. And it asks very little. 3 resources, I mean, like, it's not very little. But it's not terrible, right? Okay. Unearth the Ancients, level 0. 1 cost event. It's an insight. Investigate. Choose a seeker asset in your hand. The difficulty of the skill test is equal to the chosen asset's printed cost. If you succeed instead of discovering clues, put the chosen asset into play. If that asset has the relic trait, draw 1 card. The upgraded version of this, I think, is very playable. It's like, you know, I've had enough people yell at me being like, Justin, it's good! It's good! But this one, I still don't like the level 0 version. I do not like the level 0 version of this card. I understand, like, what it's supposed to do, but I'd rather just, like, play it. I'd rather just, like, get a clue and then also just play it. I'd rather just, like, crack the case and then just, like, play my card. Like, I'd investigate, get a clue, crack the case, play the card, then try to do this Unearth the Ancients. Notably, it does commit for 2 book. I know someone's thinking that right now. Still, I don't really want to play this one. But it did get a nice glow up into the upgraded version. Isn't I'll Take That a level 0 version of Unearth the Ancients? Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, it's better in Rogue, because rogues are fucking awesome. And Seekers suck. Am I right, chat? Am I right? Alright, Treasure Hunter. Why are you first? Are you actually... Yeah, you were in the core set. Look at that. Alright. Treasure Hunter. This is a 1 cost, 1 experience ally. You get +1 book. At the end of the upkeep phase, you must either pay a resource or discard Treasure Hunter. Soaks for 2 and 2. Well... it's great in, like, the decks that, like, a Meat Grinder Leo deck. Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're cooking with gas. But I think Treasure Hunter is kind of just fine. If your plan is for him to die, do it, right? But otherwise, like, I think you'll get more value if you're planning. If you want an ally that's going to be bumping up your book, there's much better options for that. But in the right deck, I mean, I think the card can be good or great. But overall, effects like this aren't worth it for a general sense, so I think the card on its own is kind of just fine. Decorated Skull. Let's go! Drink from the Skull. This is a 0 cost, accessory slot, item relic cursed. Uses, 0 charges. After an investigator, ally, asset, or enemy or location is defeated, place a resource on this Decorated Skull as a charge. As an action, spend a charge, draw a card, and gain a resource. I love the Skull. I think the Skull is a really cool card. I love looking at the Skull. I like seeing Akachi play the upgraded Skull. I think the level 0 Skull, at this point for me, is almost, I regret playing this. So I'm going to put it in the fine tier. I think that it's not great. I don't even think it's good. I think it's there and it's cool, but I do not enjoy it. So sorry, Skull, but you're going to be living in fine. It's just so slow, you know? It's just so slow, and the accessory slot in Rogue in particular, for reasons that we're going to see in the near future. It's crazy that these two came out in the same cycle, huh? They were like, you know what we should do? I mean, I understand this was supposed to be played like Leo Anderson, right? But it bad. It bad. It's not good. It's not that great. All right, Eavesdrop. 1 cost, Insight Trick Rogue event. Choose an unengaged enemy at your location in test book X, where X is the evade value of the chosen enemy. If you succeed, discover 2 clues at your location. I think this card is better than we initially gave it credit for. This one and what is the other one? Followed? I think that this is actually pretty good. Has the potential to be pretty good at getting clues. It's only costs 1 as well. Like the effect on it, like what it's asking from you is pretty good. And most enemy evade values are pretty low. The problem with this card though is that like I wish it was like, I know like you're using your foot. So you use your foot to evade the enemy, then you use your book to like study what they're saying. But I do like it if it was also another foot test, just because then I think it would be more universally played in rogues. I think that though in the decks that like it, I think the card itself is actually just good. All right, you handle this one. This is a 0-cost event. It's a trick. Fast. Play after you draw a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving that card's effects. Choose another investigator. That investigator is considered to have drawn that encounter card. Instead, gain 1 resource. Let's go! This card is fantastic. This card is fantastic. This is our first fantastic of the video. You did it, rogues. You did it. All right. I mean, cards like playable today. You play this card even if you have okay brain, right? And as a rogue, it's like one of those cards that just like it does so much work for very, very, very little. It's always on. It gives you a resource too, which is just like makes the card like the juice is even sweeter. You know, I think people would play this card even if it did not provide the resource, but then they were just like, hey, fuck it. Let's also put a resource on it, you know, because they're rogues. They make money. Great card. Changed rogues, right? Like it changes rogues for how they go. Because we had Finn. We had Jenny, who I know has 3 brain, but she's also fucking Jenny Barnes, right? So, yeah. Cool card. Very good. All right. Mists of Rillia. 2 cost, spell slot. 4 charges. As an action, spend a charge evade. Okay, let's follow. We're reading a mystic spell. Everybody try not to fall asleep. This evasion attempt uses brain instead of foot. If you succeed after evading the chosen enemy, you may move to a connecting location. If a skull, cultist, tablet, or tablet, squid, or autofill tokens revealed during this evasion attempt, choose and discard a card from your hand. This is like a good spell, right? Like this is good. You get 4 uses out of it. It only costs 2. Problem is you're evading. And no matter what people say, evading is still not, even I say this. Evading is still not like the best way to solve a problem. It's the definition of kicking a can down a road, unless that can is Ash Can Pete, because he has a guitar and he can do anything he wants with enemies. But I do think the card's good. I think it is like a good spell. It's a good evade spell. It costs very little and you get a bunch of charges out of it. So it doesn't require a lot for it to be actually that good. It's nice. Even if you're evading, it's just really good for that. I will say though, I think if from the get-go, if this card had the freeze effect, where like Disguise has it, where the enemy is tapped down for an additional turn, I think that would have really helped. And I do think even from like the level 0 part of the game, like when they first started designing it, if like those survivor cards, if the deduction, because like Vicious Blow is extra damage, right? The deduction is extra clue. I wish the extra evade was not multiple enemies, but rather tapped that enemy down for an additional turn from day one. And I think evade would have been a lot more viable from the start of the card pool. And thanks for coming to my evade TED Talk. Chthonian Stone. 3 cost takes up the hand slot. Seal, a skull, a tablet, a cultist, or a squid. Forced. After you reveal an auto-fail token during a skill test, return the Chthonian Stone to your hand. Alright. Can we be honest for a second, everybody? Sealing actually doesn't do anything, right? Like on standard, when most of the stuff is pretty fine, it doesn't really do anything. I'd say on hard, when like there is a token that like poisons you when you draw it, for example, right? It's just not bad. Sorry, it's just not like worth it, right? Most of the time, I think this card is just fine. I don't think I regret playing this because I think the seal build has like a fun fantasy for it, and like when you pieces all come together, it's really nice. So it's like in that tier of like cards that are bad on their own but good when you get multiples in play, right? That's a great way of saying it, Monocle Man. Sealing as a mechanic feels like playing to not lose instead of playing to win. A fucking men. That's exactly what I was thinking in my head, but I didn't find the words for. Sealing feels like playing not to lose instead of playing to win. 100%. Holy hell. Wow. That just blew my mind. Because that's exactly what I was like trying to put into words. Now there are, like I said, like there are some tokens that you want to just seal to get rid of. But then unfortunately you're like playing every other scenario with it. And you're like, okay, I guess I'll play 3 to, I don't know, get rid of this -2. Yeah. Yeah. I do like it though. I think like the seal mechanic is like a fun fantasy, but it's like you're playing to not lose instead of to win. And I like to win. Speaking of playing to lose, here's Protective Incantation. 1 cost, 1 experience, spell slot. Group limit 2 copies of Protective Incantation in play. Seal any except the auto fail. At the end of your turn, you must either spend a resource or discard Protective Incantation. Do you know what Mystics don't need? Their spell slots. That is a true fact on Mystics. So this card is super playable in any Mystic because they don't use their spell slots. Until you start building your deck and you realize you don't actually do anything. I'm putting this into the I regret playing this. Because you have to spend $1 million fucking dollars to have this stay in play. And it's not worth it, IMO. If you're using it as like tech to like seal a token during an important turn, I could get behind it. But I do not think that this card is worth it because it costs you so much time and like so much money, you know? It's like, and it takes up your spell slot, which you don't really have, right? Like maybe there's like the off-class Mystic, like you could build like a, I don't know, but like if you're gonna seal, like you're not just playing these just for fun, right? You're playing them in like the whole package. And then you're like, what am I doing with my hands? I'm holding some stones. What am I doing with my spell slots? You put it into Carolyn, she has money. What are you fucking doing with it though? You're sealing a -4? Just be up 4, right? And you're like better. And you're like, you don't have to spend an experience on a card in your deck on something to beat a -4 when you can just like beat the -4, right? I don't think it's good. I think this card's actually, to me, one of the worst cards in Arkham. I don't think it's good at all. And I hate that I have to play it this year. Alright, I'm going to be playing it in a gym deck, so maybe I do love that I'm going to play it. Alright, Dark Prophecy. This is a 1-cost event. It's an augury, fast. Play when you would reveal a chaos token. Reveal 5 chaos tokens instead of 1. Choose one of those tokens with skull, cultist, tablet, squid, or autofill symbol to resolve and ignore the rest. If no such tokens revealed, choose and I don't think this card's that good. I think I'm going to put this card in fine, I think. I understand what its purpose is, right? Like, you want to do this, like, to fish out tokens that you want to get in, like, say, for example, you're playing, like, a 6th Sense and you want to fish for that. I understand, like, why that exists. But it's just, to me, it doesn't seem worth the slot in your deck. I've played it in Jim. I played it in my Jim Sculver deck where I was playing Song of the Dead, and it still always felt a little bit clunky. Definitely a Diana staple. Yes, no, like, definitely Diana has a reason to play this because it's just an easy +1 brain card and a resource, right? It replaces itself. But it's... I'm not going to take Diana into the general rating, but I do agree. In Diana, it's a nice home for that. Not looking great for Mystics in Forgotten Age. All right, Improvised Weapon. 1 cost event. You may play Improvised Weapon from your discard pile. If you do, shuffle it into your deck after resolving its effects. Fight. The attacked enemy gets -1 fight for this attack. If you played Improvised Weapon from your discard pile, this attack gets deals +1 damage. I think that these effects are really cool. I think Winging It, which we'll get to eventually. Let's see if we can find it. There's Winging It. And when we get to Winging It, which is... Oh my god, we're half hour into this video already and we've only done all these cards. It's going to be a long video, everybody. Buckle up! I like the effects on these. I think that Winging It is generally played more just because, like, Min exists and, like, Book is easier to get than Fight for a lot of times. Like, just, like, Shrouds are also generally lower than enemy attacks. But I do think these effects are good. And I wish, like, there were more... I want, like, a nice, like, high fist fighter that's, like, not Daniela because you need to, like, eat her slots, right? That can really take advantage of this in a way. Because I feel like it's, like, it's a good general card, but it doesn't really have, like, an investigator that it super shines in. But I think overall, this is an effect that I think is just good. Help me. There we go. Wow, that was weird. All right. Dumb Luck. Oh, God. Don't get me started on this goddamn card. I mean, this is the video, you know? Where it's, like... This is the video to talk about it, but this is Dumb Luck. 2 cost Fortune, fast. Play after you fail a skill test by 2 or less during an evasion attempt against a non-elite enemy. Place that enemy on the top of the encounter deck. So this is a card that I've actually been putting into a lot of decks just so I can play it in my Play All Card Challenge for the year. And it never triggered. I always passed. I always passed because, like, if you're evading, you usually have a good value to evade by. And, like, then you just don't fail and you're like, what the frick? It finally happened after, like, 4 decks where I was playing Dumb Luck in, where I actually used it. So I was like, okay, we're done with this. I think the card's fine, though. I don't think it's an I regret playing this. Like, Lucky, like, it's the, this is the, I think it's better than Oops in terms of, like, these effects. It's definitely not as good as Look What I Found, which is up here in the fantastic tier, right? But I don't think it's an Oops, you know? But it's, man, Monocle Man just with some more sage wisdom. This feels like it was designed for a different game that Arkham LCG didn't evolve into. I can agree with that as well. Holy hell. Are you making, like, Arkham fortune cookies today? Because I feel like you're Arkham Confucius right now is crazy. But I don't think the card's, like, bad, even though I regretted playing it, like, because I had to play it so much and it just never triggered because I guess I'm just too good deck. But I think, like, the effect is fine. I'd put Oops down here, and then I think Dumb Luck can live up there. Yaddle. 3 cost, 1 experience. Soaks for 2 and 2, takes up the ally slot. As in a Lightning Bolt, you can exhaust Yaddle. During this skill test, you get a bonus to each skill equal to the number of matching skill icons on the top card of your discard pile, not counting wild icons. As a Lightning Bolt, you can discard the top card of your deck, limit once per phase. It was errata too, I'm pretty damn sure. Poor Yaddle. I wish that there was a level 3 Yaddle that used wilds. Because then I think Yaddle would be much more playable. Otherwise, it's kind of just, he's kind of just, honestly, I'm going to put this brother down in the fine. Sorry, buddy. I've played you, and you've never really been worth it. There's decks where you can certainly shine, but I think as a whole, he's kind of just fine. Give me a level 3 version that can use wild icons, please. Please. Because then you can actually, you know. Yeah. Where it's 1++ icons or something. That also could be good. Yeah, it could be like Charlie Kane where it's 1+ icons or something. Yeah, I can agree. It'd be interesting to try this guy in Charlie Kane. Now that you say Charlie Kane. But I still think over that. Yaddle is kind of just fine. Last chance. Commit only to a skill test. With no other cards committed to it, other cards cannot be committed to the skill test. This is a gambit. And it loses a wild for each card in your hand. I think you mentioned a trap with Yaddle trying to... Yeah, that was with Calvin. I got screwed by Calvin with that one, and I would never do it again. It was a bad time. And then I tried to not game Calvin, and I had a great time. Okay, so this has fucking 5 wild icons. Kind of funny that they released this and Yaddle in the same box, huh? I feel like there's some cards missing. I think there's like I feel like there's a rogue. No, there's 3 in 1. Okay. Kind of sucks that they did this and they had Yaddle in the same box and they were like, just so you know, just a reminder, not counting wild icons, you know? I think the card is fine. I think the card, even in some builds, can be great, right? I think that it's one of those things where, honestly, I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Where would you? Because I'm torn between like fine and good. I feel like fine is where it's calling me, but I could like. What do you guys think? What do you think? Like in a deck, I think it's fine. I don't need you anymore, Chad. I figured it out. I figured it out. I'm putting it in fine. It fits my definition. We're in the right deck. It gets better. But overall, it's kind of just fine. But in the right deck, like Patrice really likes it, yeah. If we get a Dark Horse for hand, you know, it's going to be good. But I think fine is the home for last chance. And then we got Backpack. Level 0. 2 cost. It takes up the body slot. It's an item. After it enters play, search the top 6 cards of your deck for up to 3 non-weakness item or supply cards. Attach them face down to Backpack. Shuffle your deck. Cards attached to Backpack may be played as if they were in your hand. If there are no cards attached to Backpack, discard it. Yo, this card's fine. We can't let Backpack 2 blind us. This card is actually like not that good, right? There's a reason why no one played it until Backpack 2 came out. And that was to hold the spot in your deck for Backpack 2. Backpack 2 is so fucking good. But like 6 cards is just not enough. Like, it's not a big number. And it's 2 resources and an action. It's not really worth it. I don't think it's an I regret playing this because it actually does something for me. Like in the right deck, it can be pretty consistent. But Backpack 2, baby, it would have lived up here for sure. So good. I realize I have nothing available for lunch. Oh, I don't have anything available for lunch either, and I'm hungry. Okay. But I got a lot of video left in me. We only just finished the... oh, we have so many cards left. All right, let's go. Scene of the crime. 2 cost, Insight, Bold, Guardian. Play only as your first action. Discover 1 clue at your location. 2 clues instead if there's an enemy at the location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Yo, this card, I'm going to say, is great. I think this is a great card. It's played in a lot of decks. It's always awesome when it pops off. And it's like just super good. It's like super good is what we call great in the biz, by the way. It requires very little, and it just gets the job done. I prefer it to Evidence, even though it costs 1 additional money, because I think 2 clues is better than 1 clues. Thank you for coming to my math conference. Yeah, Scene of the Crime, I think is a great card. Marksmanship. 2 cost, 1 experience. Fast. Play when you activate the fight ability on a firearm or ranged asset. This attack can target an enemy at a connecting location. Ignore the aloof and retaliate keywords for this attack. If this attack succeeds against an enemy not engaged with you, this attack deals +1 damage. What the frick? Okay. This attack can target... okay. Ignore the aloof. Ignore the aloof or metallic keywords. If the attack succeeds, the enemy not engaged. So you can deal 3 damage. When you activate the fight ability on a firearm. So you can also just use it to just fight normally. You can also just, like, kill an aloof enemy. Dude, you know what? The text on this card ain't bad. Right? It ain't bad text. Target enemy at a connecting location. Ignore the aloof or metallic keywords for this attack. If it's not engaged with you, it deals +1 damage. Yeah, sure. I'm going to give this card good. I don't think it's great, but I think it's good. I think it's better than fine, which is where my initial gut wanted to put it. I think it's a good card. Hell yeah. Good job, Marksmanship. I'm proud of you. Persuasion. Oh, God, no. This card. I always know this card because it's never in... If I don't recognize a card because it's not in the expanded guides, it doesn't bode well for the card. All right. Persuasion. 2-cost events. An insight trick. Parlay. Choose a non-weakness humanoid enemy at your location in test book 3. This test gets +X difficulty where X is the enemy's horror value. Sure, just for fun. If you succeed, shuffle the chosen enemy and counterattack if the chosen enemy is elite, automatically evaded instead. Okay. Interesting. Can I ask a question without anyone getting mad at me? I'm gonna put this card in fine. But, like, do you think the only reason we don't play this card is just because Guardians kill enemies better? Because, like, I don't know. Now I'm just, like, picturing in my head talking away a Brotherhood cultist in Forgotten Age. Why would you ever do this on an elite enemy? I think this is just for cultists, right? Like, and I think it's good against cultists. None of them, like, I don't think most of them deal horror. Maybe, like, the Wizard of the Order does. But I don't think the card's good. It's close to regret playing this for me, but I'm putting it in fine because, like, I'm now workshopping a reason for why I'd want to play it. Which is why I think fine exists, right? So they deal damage. So this is a cultist killer. This is here to kill cultists. Not men with little hats. And Brotherhood, does he also only deal damage? No, he deals horror. Well, why would you do that, game? What the frick? That's not very cash money of you. Alright, that probably... no, I think it's... I don't know. I think I have to follow my gut, and I just think this card is so clunky. I'm going to be putting it down in here. Especially now seeing the Brotherhood cultist deals a horror, so you have to do a book 4 test. And although that's not a number that's hard to hit, it makes it so that you have to, like... You have to do that on top of doing the 2s, so I'm going to be putting down in the I regret playing this. It's convinced me against itself. It persuaded me that the card actually kind of sucks. Shrewd Analysis! Alright, Shrewd Analysis. Talent, permanent, limit 1 per deck. Anytime you upgrade a card with the unidentified or untranslated subtitle, you may upgrade a second copy of that card at no experience cost. If you do, the 2 upgraded versions are chosen at random from among the eligible options. You must still meet all deck building requirements. I like what this card does in theory, you know, where it, like, tries to convince somebody that, hey, you should just not care what you upgrade into and you should just get the experience discount and maybe you'll get the damage strange solution. What this really turns into is most of the time people game it. You know, they're like, I will use it in Carolyn and Vincent where I only have one option to get to. I will use it on my Dream Diary because I don't fucking care what I get. I just want a free Unexpected Courage each turn, you know? I think, like, the idea behind this card is not actually actualized, you know? But I do think the effect is still good. I still think the effect is good, and I'll run it most of the time. I actually run it with Harvey in my run with Eric, which is starting right away, because I was like, you know what? I don't care what version of Ancient Stone I get. I'm just drawing cards, and I want to do something with it. But I think that this is a good card, like a great card in theory, but not in practice, because everyone just games it. Lucky Cigarette Case. After you succeeded a skill test by 2 or more, exhaust it to draw a card. Takes up the accessory slot, and it costs 2. It's an item and a charm. Yo, let's go up to Fantastic with this card, please. Yeah, this was Forgotten Age. Well, yeah, what were rogues doing for a while, huh? The answer, absolutely nothing. Say it again. Card's insane, right? I think that this card lives at, like, you could play... While the level 3 version is busted, what's really nice about this card is that it's just like, I think that... Oh, Jesus. I think that what this card does really well is last until Scenario 8. If I, like, never upgraded this and I was just, like, doing, like, just drawing cards with it, I still think this card gets value in Scenario 8. It's a very, very, very good card, and look at Rogues go. They got the 2 Fantastics today. Oh, no. Maybe the most important rogue card in the game? I would agree it's up there. It's on the Rogue Mount Rushmore IMO. For sure. Alright, Fence. 3 cost, 1 experience. Connection Illicit. When you play an illicit card during your turn, exhaust Fence. The illicit card gains fast. If it was already fast, reduces cost by 1 instead. Bryn played this in an illicit deck, and he said, I regret playing this, so I'm just going to follow his guidance on that one. He played it in the deck that you were supposed to play it in, and he was like, it's still not good enough. And I'm going to just trust him. You know? It's one of those things where, like, it definitely got better with the Underworld market, but I still don't think it's that incredible with it. I don't know. I'm going to just follow Bryn's, by the gameplay I've seen, and follow my gut. I still think this card's not great, even with Underworld market, though. Maybe it could go up into fine, but I don't think it's high fine if it is. All right. Here's going to be an interesting talking point. Arcane Research. This is a permanent. When you purchase Arcane Research, suffer 1 mental trauma. After each scenario of a campaign, reduce the experience cost of the first spell card you upgrade before the next scenario by 1. All right. I actually did a lot of thinking about this card this morning, because I looked back at my Carcosa interview where I gave Sharon's Obol Busted. It's very interesting, isn't it? This card? Because Mystics kind of needed it, right? And it was kind of just an auto-include. It was kind of just an auto-include for the longest time. And then, very recently, Down the Rabbit Hole came out. And I think Down the Rabbit Hole is better than Arcane Research, in my mind. I actually don't put Arcane Research in a lot of my Mystic decks anymore. I still sometimes do. I still sometimes put Arcane Research and Down the Rabbit Hole, and I live the dream of getting a bunch of experience at once. However, I don't think it is an auto-include. And I think most people are just kind of bad if they think it is an auto-include. And I'm sorry I have to say this, but I think people are putting Arcane Research and Down the Rabbit Hole together when you could just pick one. You don't need 2. So I don't think this card's busted. I think this card's fantastic. I think it's, after spending more time with it and not playing with it, I think it's very important for the Mystic class. And I think the people who are saying you need to take it, if you need to take one. You need to take Down the Rabbit Hole or Arcane Research to, like, get the Mystic class in it. But it's part of the design now, in the numbers of their experience, that, like, this is just kind of the Mystic class. However, I've also actually played the Mystic decks without either, and it was still fine. I think people just are kind of just on a crutch as well, you know? Why would you not take it, though? What is the argument for not taking it as well? I don't want the trauma. I didn't want the trauma in my Mystic deck, so I just didn't take it. And you know what? I won the campaign, right? I think that the card is not... I think the people who are saying it's an auto-include kind of just suck. You're kind of like you're walking with a crutch, right? And I think that you can now build your Mystic deck that is... you can build a Mystic deck without it and still do fine. So I think it's a really real juicy... a real juicy experience. I did recently... I'm actually recording right now a video where I have Down the Rabbit Hole Akachi with In the Thick of It and Arcane Research. So she has 4 mental trauma at her at the beginning, because I was like, I haven't done this in a while, right? And I don't really notice a difference, because actually a lot of my thing was like, okay, so then how do I heal this trauma and not die, right? But I think what's, for me, keeping it out of busted, and I was thinking about this comparing it to Sharon's Obol, which I did give a busted, was that the Sharon's Obol is... Sharon's Obol is used for anything. Arcane Research is specifically for spell upgrades. So it's designed for the Mystic class. This is something that a user in our channel, our Discord channel, Nick, always says, that the Mystic class would be worse without cards like this. And I think it's true. And I don't think it's the reason why Arcane Research is busted, but rather why the fact that the Mystic class kind of had a problem from day 0 with how their upgrades paths go. But I think this card is a band-aid for it, but I don't think this card is the problem in the Mystic class, if that makes sense. I had to think about this a lot. I was like, this is something that I'm not just going willy-nilly. I don't think Arcane Research is as busted as I thought it was before Edge of the Earth came out. Before Edge of the Earth came out, this would be my busted in a heartbeat. But after now playing a bunch of Mystics without Arcane Research, or with Down the Rabbit Hole, or even with none, it works. I think you can now build the Mystic that you want to build, right? To me, a busted is I have to I'm gonna include it for I'm not I have to choose not to include it because I don't think it's fun. And I think Arcane Research is very fun, but I choose not to include it because I can build Down the Rabbit Hole, you know? Campaigns have fewer scenarios now as well. Also very true. But I think if someone told me it was busted, I'd be like, yeah, I see what you're saying while I disagree with you. But I do think that you should try playing without it sometime, and you'll probably still win because you're good at Arkham. All right, let's go on. Counterspell. This is a 2-cost spell blessed event. It's 2 experience fast. Play when a skull, cultist, tablet, or squid chaos tokens revealed during skill test your location. Cancel that chaos token. Do not reveal a new chaos token to replace it. I hate Mystic cards. I hate Mystic cards. They're just so boring. Like the text, I just say, if you reveal, we've had so many play when you reveal a skull, cultist, tablet, or squid chaos token. Yeah. I think the card, I think it's fine. I mean, I think the effect is good, but I'd never want to play it, you know? I never want to play it. Because I have, as I said, the Mystic class is designed around high experience cards. So you're going to be spying all your other stuff, and then you're going to eventually be I guess I'll just maybe buy Counterspell. So by the time you get it, you're I guess I'll maybe buy this, you know? it's one of those things where, like, the 2 experience is rough. Hey, Stone Cold Stunfish, 26 months at the Golden Table. Thank you for your support. And thank you. Hope you're having a great Friday. I mean, like, if someone told me this card was good, I'd be like, hell yeah, brother. I agree with you, but I also agree with someone who said it was fine. And I think for me right now, it's kind of just like, I think, like, there's reasons to run it, but I think overall those reasons aren't compelling to me, you know? I think there's just, like, better things to do. Perseverance, fast. So it's a 2-cost survivor event. It's a spirit, fast. Play when you assign damage and or horror that would defeat you. Cancel up to 4 of that damage and or horror. Commits for a guts, by the way. So Bryn plays this card all the time. And, like, Bryn gets good use out of it. I'm going to give it a good. I think it's a good card. I think it's good. But I've never really used it to I actually, like, this to me is my Moby Dick, my white whale in the Play All Card Challenge, because I usually don't die. And that's not me, like, trying to, like, flex or anything. But, like, I just don't know how I'm going to play this card. I've actually, like, never... I mean, maybe I used it in Calvin once. But, like, it is really good at what it does. Like, Bryn plays very... Bryn plays very close to the... Like, he likes taking damage. There's a lot of times where Travis and I are like, what do we do about this enemy? And Bryn's like, it's okay, I got it. And then, like, Bryn's plan was just get, like, fucking punched 3 times in the face, you know? And we're like, okay, well, I mean, well, you just did it. You got the enemy for us. So Travis and I were able to do something. So it's one of those things where I've seen it do good work, and I've seen it save Bryn, like, a chunk of times. So I think it's a good card. I've never played it, though, that I can recall anyway. All right, Stunning Blow. It's a practiced survivor skill, commits for a fist. If this skill test is successful during an attack, automatically evade the attacked enemy. Thud. I'm not even going to let my bias... I think I'm going to put it in great. My gut wants to put it in fantastic, but I think it's just a great card. Because I think these cards are just, like, a league above it, you know? The blow, yeah. And I mean, like, when you have 6 stunning blows, it's very good, you know? But I'm going to put it in great. I want to put it in fantastic because, like, to me, it's a fantastic card. But it's one of those things where it's great. It's a great card. I'll have to give Stunning Blow another chance then. Yeah, I didn't think much of this card at first, but then Bryn played it, and I was like, wow, this card does so much. It does so much for very little. You fight a boss monster. You attack the boss monster, and then the boss monster is now done for the turn, and you don't have to worry about it attacking you, and you can just, like, take your turn. It combos with Dirty Fighting. Yeah, as Stu Dunspars is saying. It's a great card. Stunning Blow, very good. Probably one of my favorite. Like I said, if I was being, like, biased, I'd put it up here. But when I think about this, like, logically, it is a tier below them. I love that you can shoot someone so hard that you stun them. I do wish it says if it's successful during an attack with a melee, like with a basic attack or a melee weapon, but just for the flavor. But I do like that the function reigns supreme. It's kind of surprising that it does work on elites, given how many... I mean, yeah, but I mean, like, I think it's fine that it does. Second Wind. This is a 1-cost Guardian event. Play only as your first action. Heal 1 damage, 2 damage instead if you drew a treachery this round, then draw a card. I only play this in Mark Harrigan, so I think then by its very nature, this card is just fine. I love it in Mark Harrigan. I think it's very good in Mark. But I don't really have a reason to play it anywhere else, so I'm going to give it a fine. Because that to me fits my fine definition, where like it's a great card in places, but on its own, you don't really have a reason to play it. But I love Second Wind, Mark. It pretty much, it actually, I run it over like True Grit sometimes, most of the time in my Mark Harrigan deck. Okay, easy, Second Wind. Don't even need to think about it. Take the initiative. 3 wilds, practice bold. Commit only to a skill test you're performing. Take the initiative. Loses a wild for each action that is completed by another investigator this phase. Are any personal weaknesses? I think a personal weakness turns into a treachery once you draw it. I'm pretty sure. If it's a treachery one, it turns into a treachery. So I think, yeah, if you drew it in, you could, like, play the... But you only play it as your first action. So you need to draw it, like, not before your first action. Because it is Second Wind, you do have to play it as your first action. Speaking of as your first action, I think take the initiative... I think if you asked me a while ago, I'd put this in great. But I think I'm going to just put it in good now. I think I'm going to put it in good. I think if you asked me, like, a year and a half ago, I would say that this card is great. But now I have no fear of the Mythos deck. So I kind of think this one has gone down in value for me because it was like Mythos deck protection. Guardians are actually pretty good at the Mythos deck. Guardians are like pretty good at the Mythos deck. And I think that they've just gotten like better in the last little bit. And I think it's still a good card. I think it's great in like some investigators. But it's one of those things where I think now it's like a high good. I think it's a very, I mean, like, once again, a good card's not like a good card. Like basically like all of these are the cards that are like extremely playable in my mind, like all the time. Like there's a reason to like, you're going to like playing them all the time. So a good isn't like a bad rating. This is like when we start to get a little bit clunkier over here, but like this stuff to me, like I think it's still a very, very playable card. All right. Well prepared. 2 cost, 2 experience. It's a Guardian talent asset. As a lightning bolt, exhaust well prepared and choose an asset you control. You get +X skill value for this skill test, where X is the number of matching skill icons on the chosen asset. Yeah, I think it's a good card. It's fun. I don't think it's great. It requires like a lot of other pieces to get going, but I do think the well prepared. I've recently played. This is a 1 of in a Tommy deck. Never ended up, getting the second one. But I do love what it does. I think it's a good card. I don't really have much to say. I don't think it's great. What's our current stuff in the top tier? We got this up in the top tier. These are like our top tier things. I don't think like the card is great, but I think the card is good and very fun, and like with the right pieces can do a lot of good stuff. I think it's a very fun, very good card. Truth from Fiction. This is a 2 cost insight. Play only if there's a clue on your location. Place 2 secrets on an asset you control. I also actually recently played this for the first time too, and in the deck it was fantastic. So I need to like step away from that and like think about the deck on its own. Think about the card on its own. 2 resources and an action to put 2 secrets on a thing. All right, Chad. I need some further insight. What do you guys think of this card just generally? Because as I said, I played it in a deck where it was phenomenal. But most are good. Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it might just be like a good card, right? It's probably just good. Right? Because I think it has a higher ceiling than Fine. Well, it has a higher floor than Fine. These Fine cards. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in good. I think it's a good card. It's fantastic in the Harvey deck I'm playing though. It's absolutely incredible. All right, I need to get a Farsight for that deck. Okay, what's up next? True Understanding. It's a wild, so this is a seeker skill. It's innate, commits for a wild. Commit only to a skill test from an ability printed on a scenario card. If the skill test is successful, discover a clue at your location. Guess what? I'm doing it. I do it. I think this card's great. I'm going to say it. And that might be some of my bias coming through. But this card, I'm always happy to draw it. I feel like an absolute fucking baller anytime I trigger it. And I get the clue off my location. Sometimes it's trickier than others. Definitely. But yeah. I think that this card is a great card. It's just like it's just a really nice skill. It's one of those things where you will get a clue for just passing a treachery, and that's pretty sick. Or you'll get a clue for doing a brain test on an agenda. Or you'll get a clue for doing a book test on a location, right? Yeah, it just gets clues out of nowhere, and it looks like a baller doing it. Quick Study. 2 cost, 2 experience. Lightning Bolt. Place one of your clues in your location and exhaust Quick Study. You get +3 skill value for this skill test. Okay. So, I have not played Clue Drop outside of one standalone scenario in that Beard had from Arkham Incidents. And I hear that Clue Drop is pretty damn good. Can I ask a question, though? Is Clue Drop good mostly because of research notes? That's my question of the day. I am going to have another question of the day in the near future, I'm sure. But, like, that's kind of like the vibe I get, right? It's research notes. The one where if you don't know what it is, you can, like, when you put a clue, you place an evidence on it, and then you get to, like, test 0, and you grab clues, so you might succeed by or something like that. So, yeah, getting the 2 out is busted. Yeah, because the problem with it still is that you're, like, losing tempo when you're dropping clues down, right? It's good because of research notes. It's busted because of 2 research notes. That makes sense. That's why Travis wanted to taboo it in our PBG taboo list, that you can only have limit 1 in play. Which I would love to see on the official taboo list too, from the sounds of it. Because if it's like one research notes really helps it. 2 busting it means that probably it should be managed a bit. I think this card, though, is kind of just fine. I think it fits my definition of a card that gets better in an archetype. But if that archetype is really, like, succeeding mostly because of research notes and also press pass, and I mean, I know this is an enabler of the archetype, but you can also get other enablers that are, like, less, I think? I don't know. I don't know much about this. This one I'm not confident about, you know? I'm not 100% confident about my rating of this one with, like, the current Clue Drop package. So I'm going to just put it where my gut feels it is. And yeah, you can be used outside of the archetype, but if someone was using this just for, like, +3 on a random test, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, can't you just, like, commit a unexpected courage or something? Like, and, like, use your experience somewhere? I'd honestly be perplexed. I'd be, like, watching them being like, what the hell? What's going on? So I think for me, that's why I'm going to give it a fine. I'm not confident in this rating, though, and I will put a little asterisk on it. Hatchet Man! This is a practiced rogue skill, commits for a foot. If this skill test is successful during an evasion attempt, the next time the evaded enemy takes damage this turn, you deal it 1 additional damage. This card doesn't really impress me much. It don't impress me much. You know, Shania Twain quote here. I think I'm going to put it in fine. There's decks where it's good. I've also actually seen it do good. But most of the time I look at Hatchet Man and I'm like, well, I guess I guess I'm gonna, try to do this. With Dirty Fighting and the 25 automatic, it certainly is better. But I think on its own, the card isn't exciting enough for it to be good, in my opinion. It's a card that I think is fine on its own and great when you have it with other things, which I think like a lot of these cards, I think like you can see that there's a lot of like, if we look at like, if you have the Carcosa and like the Dunwich, there was a lot more in the I regret playing this. But there's a lot of cards which are fine, which become great in other things as well. So hell yeah, good job. High Roller. 2 cost, 2 experience. It's a rogue talent. As a lightning bolt, spend 3 resources and exhaust High Roller. You get +2 skill value for the skill test. If you succeed, gain 3 resources. Can I be honest? I hate this card. I played it recently. And in a big money deck. And it like just did not impress me at all. And that might just because like Well Connected just like outclasses it now. It's not a big money. I mean, it's not a big money. It's not a big money card, but like it is kind of a big money card, right? Because you have the money that you can just get +2 no problem, right? And even if you pass it each time, even if you pass it each time, you're just kind of like, cool. I don't think it's worth it. It's kind of like what I'm saying. Like, I think the effect just like isn't worth it. So I'm going to put it in fine. It's useful for the Succeed by X decks. Definitely. But even then, I'd rather just like play lockpicks. I'd rather just like play lockpicks. Better than dropping a clue? Yeah, I suppose it kind of is. But at the same time, like, not really. I think, like, the effect just doesn't impress me. And I did not enjoy it when I played it. It did not do anything for me. I think the card is just fine. It does not spark joy, so to speak. In Rapture. Now, this card sparks joy. If this skill test is successful, it's a mystic practiced skill commits for a book. If it's successful during an investigation, place 1 clue or secret on an asset you control. Yeah, it's great. It's up here with all these other ones of the 1 commit skills that do something if you do the thing. Great card. Always happy to see it. Always happy to play it. It's just you're going to be doing the game and giving yourself more goodness. It's also practiced. I know Travis wants me to say that. One of the tiers now needs to be don't impress me much. That is true. That's like above I regret playing this and below fine. It's just like actually it's kind of like somewhere like in this whole area. It's like it just don't impress me much. Recall the Future. This is a 2 cost, 2 experience, Mystic, Asset, Augury, Ritual. As a reaction, when a skill test you're performing begins, if Recall the Future is ready, name a Chaos token. If the named Chaos token is revealed during the skill test, exhaust it. Well, exhaust Recall the Future, not the Chaos token. Then you get +2 skill value for this skill test. I mean, like, the effect on this card is very good, right? It's shit to play with. Like, I hate playing with it because it's like always this token, I wish that instead it was like when at the start of the scenario, like put a token from your collection on it and that token now does this, right? It just so like you had to think about it less, right? Like, or when you play it, like choose a token whenever that token is revealed. I understand the versatility makes it a better card, 100%. But most of the time, at least on standard, it's like 1 token that you want to beat. But I think the effect is good. I'm going to put this up here in the good card. Oh, sorry, you're trying to sneak up to great? I think it's close to great. I think it's a very powerful effect. But as I said, most of my stuff is going to be going to the spells and the things that I need to do, and then like later on I can get this. But anytime I've seen this played, it's done really well, so I think it's a good card. Slotless Asset is nice too. Amen. Try and Try Again. 2 cost, 1 experience, red asset. It's a talent. Uses 3 tries. If Try and Try Again has no tries, discard it. As a reaction, after skill test has failed, if a skill card you own is committed to that test, exhaust Try and Try Again, spend a try, return that skill card to your hand. So this is actually the playable one, right? So of the Try and Try Agains, this is the one that's actually playable. I don't think that makes it good, but I think it's like the one that's like you can play. So I'm going to put it in fine. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, the upgraded one just has no tries. Yeah, and it costs 3 experience. The problem is, though, and this is what, as I told Eric in the video about this card, and also what like Bryn and Travis taught me, which was just why are you failing more than 3 times? Like, unless you're Stella, and even then, Grizzly Totem level 3 is what you want. Why are you failing more than 3 times? Right? Like, that's a question that you need to ask yourself. And I know like that sounds like a bit stupid, right? But it's like, why are you in this situation where you are, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Just like I don't like, this isn't a game plan that I think is a winning game plan. You know? Yeah. The totem fits better most of the. Well, so what the totem does is it triggers the card. This doesn't trigger the card, right? Because it's after a skill test has failed. I'm pretty sure it goes back to your hand, right? While Grizzly Totem, it's at when the skill card the timing window is different on the text between them. I'm pretty sure. Let's go to Arkham. DB. Grizzly Totem. After you... Oh, it's right here. After committing a skill card to a skill test, exhaust Grizzly Totem. That card gains another instance of one of its skill icons in your choice. If the skill test fails, return that card to your hand. Yeah. It's if instead of after. Which, as we all know, is really easy to understand, and we don't need to explain it further. Yeah. That's really funny. So, if happens after you resolve the skill test, but after is not. If is after the skill test, but after is during the skill test, right? That's how it's summed up. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it. Let's move on. Cornered. 2 cost, 2 experience is the talent. Does a lightning bolt discard a card from your hand? You get +2 skill value for the skill test limit once per test. Bravery is born when there is no other choice. So in Patrice, this card is fantastic, right? Where do we think this card lives just generally, though, right? That's the question I need to ask myself because I'm making the video. Oh, we got to talk about Intrepid next. Let's go. Great, probably? I don't think so. I think I think this card is probably just fine unless it's like in the deck. Not all discard. I mean, like, who, like, when do you, like, the question is, I guess, like, when do you take this? When do you take Cornered? If you're not Patrice. When you're running all 6, all 3 2 copies, all 6 cards of the Improvised suite? when you're running Moonstone. Is it worth it in Yorick? I think it's taking up his precious card space. Yorick's deck's pretty competitive at this point. It's the most playable within the cycle of a do a thing. I mean, I think this one's the most playable because you just set it and forget it, right? The Recall the Future. I think it's going to live with its brothers and sisters. It's going to be in here. Idol of Xanatos. Yeah, Idol of Xanatos, I think, is much better for the small discard synergy than Cornered would be. I will say, I think Cornered is fantastic in Patrice. But I think as a general card, it's kind of just fine. I think there's just better things you can do for 2 cost and 2 experience. Excess Taros? That's some tech. That's interesting. I think that's kind of neat. The problem is a tarot deck right now, the tarots that you see are like Lola and Safina are like probably like the 2 best just like tarot users. But I dig it. That's actually an interesting idea for where you might want to put Cornered in. I can get behind that. Yeah, no, and I think like in the deck where like you're playing I'm hiding it, but the Improvised Weapon is hiding right here. When you're playing like the improvised cards, it definitely goes up in value too. But I do think that just like on its own, you're not going to want to put that in your deck. Doesn't Moon Pendant solve that already? Yeah, but you can have more of it, right? Because like, it makes your deck more consistent, right? Yeah, like it's Moon Pendant 3/4 in the long run. Like I said, I don't think like it's like it's an interesting solution, but I don't know if it's like, I still don't know if it's worth it, but it is like, I think like a use case for it that I think is actually pretty interesting. Intrepid, right in the trash. Let's go. Okay, Intrepid. This is a Guardian skill. It's innate, commits for a brain. If this skill test is successful, add Intrepid to your play area with the asset as an asset with the text. You get +1 book, +1 fist, +1 foot. At the end of the round, discard Intrepid. I played this on Tuesday, actually. I actually played this card on Tuesday. It did nothing. And I think it's going to just like, you know, can Kate put a clue on this? What the fuck? It's not a science. Or damn. That would have been great though. I don't think this card is good. Next question. All right, custom ammunition. 3 cost, 3 experience. Upgrade supply, blessed, fast, play only during your turn. Attached to a firearm asset controlled by an investigator at your location. Place 2 ammo on that asset. Limit 1 per asset. Attached performed by attached asset. Deal +1 damage against monster enemies. Okay, so I think what you do with this card is you look at it in chunks, right? Best case scenario, it's like when you're using both chunks of the card, it's very good. If you are using it for ammo, it's also like not terrible, right? Because it's fast, you know? If you are dealing damage to monster enemies, it's also pretty good. So I do think that this card I'm going to put up here in the good tier. I think the card's good. It does also stick to the plan, yeah. Good card. I think custom ammunition is a very good card. I don't think it's great. You know, for reasons, Travis was recently looking through the Forgotten Age box, and he said, man, there's not a lot of like great cards here. And it's true. Looking at it, like there's a lot of stuff that's kind of just good and fine, you know? But it's true. It's true. Otherworldly Compass. Oh no, this is one of those cards I don't know about. 2 cost, 2 experience, takes up the hand slot. It's an item and relic. As an action, exhaust Otherworldly Compass. Investigate. Your location gets -X shroud of this investigation, or X's number of reveal locations connected to your location. I wonder if this might work better with test at 0. Yeah, it might. I guess like the big problem with this card is that it's like not that So, like, most locations are connected to 2 locations, right? So the odd thing about this card is that it feels like this could just be me being crazy. I mean, you know, because I think, like, baseline, this card is just flashlight. A flashlight without charges that doesn't consistently flashlight, right? I guess the question, though, is that, like, for me, a lot of, like, victory locations with high shroud are usually like the end caps of maps, if I am remembering this correctly, and I could be completely wrong. But I mean, like, it's just a flashlight, right? It's just a flashlight that's just, like, not consistent, but you can use it forever. I'd love to see Min try this, or Daryl even try this and succeed by 0. I'm gonna give it a fine. I mean, maybe it's even good. Maybe people just don't play it because everyone's too busy holding fucking magnifying glasses. You know? Like, everyone's just, like, doing, like, magnifying glasses like this. Dude, you know what? I'm putting it in good. I think this is actually a good card that I haven't played for some fucking reason. Flashlight is a good card. This is a flashlight that can never end, potentially. I could be wrong on this, but I'm putting it in good. And I think we have to build something around this. I think a test at 0, we got to explore it. Because I do think this seems great for Daryl, and it seems great for Min in the test at 0. And honestly, it's just a fucking flashlight. I think the true problem with this card is that it takes up the hand slot. I think it's like Ellie. Ellie is a good card that is just outclassed by other cards in the class. And I think Otherworldly Compass is the exact same, right? It's because, and I think that, like, this is not for, like, main class seekers, right? That's why, like, Daryl interests me. Even though he has 5 fucking book, because for some reason, dude should have probably had 4 book, let's be honest. But he has 5 books, so even then, he's kind of more like seeker survivor than he is survivor seeker, right? But I think the card is actually good. Because, like, I'll play flashlight, and if I was, like, going to upgrade my flashlight, this could also just be it. Interesting. I think this card is really cool, and I'm excited to try building with it. I think I got to do a campaign with it. I think we're going to do a campaign where we play this, maybe coming up soon. But the thing is, like, it also could just crash and burn, but, like, most locations have 2 connections, right? Most locations have 2. Some have 1, but, like, most locations have 2. Like, even if you play this in, like, fucking how does horror in high gear work? Are the locations connected, or do they just, like, you can only move right, you know? Because if they're connected, that seems awesome in horror and high gear. So your locations, like, just, like, usually become, like, -2 all the time, or sometimes -4. I think this card's actually. But yeah, and, like, I actually, so sorry, there's a bunch going on in chat. So, Fonda Dix, I do think that's a funny username. I do think they're done. I personally think they're done with return 2s. That is, I think that's kind of just I think that's just, like, the easiest way to take it. But I think that they are done officially with return 2s. From my limited experience, the high shroud typically have the fewest connections. And that is definitely what I think is also, and also like I was saying, like I think like a lot of experience locations are also end capped with high shrouds, so they only have one. But I don't think that this card is for reducing high shroud locations IMO. I think this card is for consistency in low shroud locations. So when you get to the high shroud locations, they're a little bit easier, but you still have all of your resources to just suck the clues off of them. And I think that's where Otherworldly Compass can truly shine, where it exists to help you on the smaller stuff when you get the big reduction, and then you have all your resources when you need them. So you don't need to spend your resources on a 3-shroud location. This seems better in a flex. Potentially. I think it seems best in like a survivor, in the Succeed by 0, or just where you want more consistency. Honestly, I think it even as good as a Seeker. I think I slept on this card. I honestly do. Luke Robinson? Yeah. His Dream Gig could be like -8. You use it to investigate his weakness, because that's how you get out of it, right? You need to investigate it or something. Oh, Keyring gives an extra clue. This doesn't. Yeah. So, like, I get it. Like, but it's what, like, you also can, if you don't have your old keyring, you can still get to -0, or you could just like make it more consistent. Like, it gives you a lot of consistency. Oh, the location side isn't connected to anything though. Sag, super Sag. All right. Yeah, I think this card's good. I think it's like Ellie, where it's just like outclassed by other cards in the pool. But it's intrigued me, because I mean, like, Flashlight's good. I'll play Flashlight. I'll pay for upgraded Flashlight. I'll pay for this Flashlight too. You know, consistency when the scenario's already over with Oak Young 3 and Shadowlight. That is reductive. That is reductive and wrong. I'm sorry. All right, let's move on. Expose Weakness. This is a 0 cost, 3 experience Seeker event. It's an insight. Commits for a bunch of symbols. Look at that. Fast. Play during any Lightning Bolt player window. Choose an enemy location. Test book X, where X is that enemy's fight value. If you succeed, treat the enemy's fight value as if it was 0 for the next attack performed against it this phase. Draw a card. Card's fine, right? Card's just fine. I've yet to expose weakness and exploit weakness, and I need to do that on principle. Yeah, you definitely need to do that on principle. Card definitely went up in value, right? The problem is it's expensive as hell. 3 experience. To get like the combo out to do the thing. I think card is just fine. Card's just fine. All right. I'm not going to say much more. I don't have much to say about this one. Lola Santiago. We have 3 cost, 3 experience. It's a rogue asset. You get +1 book and +1 foot. As a lightning bolt, you can exhaust Lola Santiago and spend X resources to discover 1 clue at your location. X is the shroud value of your location. Oh, are we, okay, here, all right, we're cooking. We're cooking in this kitchen, all right? Lola Santiago, Otherworldly Compass, Trish Scarborough deck. Are we cooking? Are we cooking, chat? Are we cooking something here? I think that's cooked. That's something that's coming out a well-cooked meal right there. All right, I'm writing that down. Yeah, now we're cooking. All right, that seems like really good. Lola Hayes. No, not Lola Hayes. Oh my God, Lola Santiago. Plus Underworld Compass. So Otherworldly Compass, not Underworld. Trish. Preston Tets 0 seems good too. Oh yeah, no, that does seem pretty. I mean, yeah, that does seem pretty sick. This, I mean, like, that seems really good. Lola, anyway, she's fantastic. I think Lola is in the running for like one of the most consistent and like best allies in the game. She's like so good. She's like so fucking good. Holy Helicopter, are you still talking about Old Keyrings. Look, I gave it a fucking good. Old Keyring 3, we know it's like close to busted fantastic, right? You're comparing a good card to a fantastic card? Go outside and touch grass for a bit. Holy hell. All right. We're talking about Lola now, okay? Lola is one of the best allies in the game. So good at what she does, and like while she costs 3 experience, she feels worth every penny that you put in. She does so much with her card. It's absolutely incredible. It's just like, it's fantastic. Who could take Lola 3 and Pete 2? Preston? Only Preston, I think. Yeah, I think only Preston. Preston being their green-red is still bizarre to me. Yeah, give us just a normal... Just give us a normal green-red survivor. That's what I want. I want, like, a normal green-red survivor. Because we don't have, like, a normal one of those. And that makes me sad. Charlie Kane could take him. That'd be pretty sick. Yeah, Charlie Kane. Charlie Kane with all that would be pretty sweet. Anyway, Lola's great. I'm going to move on. We're done with Lola. We're going to be talking about Olive McBride now. So Olive McBride, she is a mystic asset. She's an ally. Takes up the ally slot. She costs 2, soaks for 1 and 3. She's an ally and a witch. As a reaction, when you would reveal a chaos token, exhaust Olive McBride. Reveal 3 chaos tokens instead of 1. Choose 2 of those to resolve and ignore the other. What an interesting character this Olive McBride is, huh? What an interesting character. I've never really, like, used her to great success. So I don't really have, like, a lot of, like, good memories of what Olive McBride can do. I played her in that gym deck, which was a blast. Her soak is all, yeah, her soak is, I would say even better for, like, better than all right. I think her soak is actually, like, quite good for her cost. I don't know. My gut tells me good. My gut tells me good. That's what my gut is trying to tell me where I should put her. So I think that's just where I'm going to put her. The problem is, again, like Ellie, like, but the thing is, like, she benefits from a specific archetype in the Mystic class, but, like, even in that archetype, a lot of the times you are just going to run Arcane Initiate, right? Or David Renfield back in the day, rest in peace, God rest your soul. I think I'm going to put her in good. I don't want to think about her too much. I love the art. I love her subtitle, but I just don't really dig Olive McBride that much. Defiance level 2. It commits for a while to ignore the effects of all skull, cultist, tablet, and squid symbols during this test, including their modifiers. Card's good. It's close even to fine. I don't like it's a good effect. It, like, basically neutralizes the cup. It just makes you more likely to succeed. Is that worth 2 experience? In a down the rabbit hole deck, probably, right? Because it's part of your game plan anyway if you're running the level 0 Defiance. It's, like, close to fine, I think. But, like, it just, like, basically says, hey, I'm going to increase my odds of passing this test, like, tenfold. So I think that's a good enough card that it at least deserves to sit in the good tier. Premonition, fast. Play during any lightning bolt player window. Put Premonition into play, reveal a random chaos token from the chaos bag, and seal it on Premonition. By the way, this is a 0-cost card. Forced, when a chaos token would be revealed from the chaos bag, resolve the token sealed here as if it was just revealed from the chaos bag instead. Then you discard Premonition. This card has gone on a journey. This card actually reminds me a lot of Ritual Candles, where we played it all the time and we were like, cool. And then we were like, wait a minute, why am I playing Ritual Candles? This card is poopy. And then we started playing Ritual Candles again because we were like, wow, that's a lot of value for 1 cost. And Premonition's kind of the same, where we played it and then we were like, okay, that's fun, we love it. And then we were like, we stopped playing it. And then Travis was like, hey, I think we were playing Premonition wrong. And I was like, you know what? Travis, you're right. We were playing it wrong. Travis's point was that we were using this just to like see who should take the first action. But where this card can become really powerful is when you play it before skill cards are committed. It's like a lucky, right? You take a test, it's like a pre-lucky, and you're like, okay, I need to be up by 2 to pass this test, right? And like it's like really good for that, and you can be like, hey, and I think that I think this card, I don't think it's great. I still think it's good, but I think it's a very, very good card. That happens so much here. I think we were playing the card wrong, and that's why Arkham is so good, because there's so much you can learn from just like exploring the card pool and exploring cards and exploring the windows of the game. And that's why Arkham is just like damn good. It's a good card. Good job, Premonition. We're proud of you. Live and Learn. All right. Live and Learn, 0-cost event. Fast. Play after a skill test you failed ends. After resolving the effects of the failed test, attempt that test again. You get +2 skill value for this test. 0-cost survivor event. I think this card's great. I don't think it's fantastic. I think it's great.
Fatality.
Raging Spud. Thank you so much for using your Twitch Prime on us. Welcome to the Golden Table. It's a pleasure to have you. I love the username. It's a great card. Live and Learn, very powerful. It's lucky but different. And lucky's great, so Live and Learn is great. It's one of those things where like I think it's less good than lucky in a vacuum, right? Like in a vacuum, this card is less good than lucky, right? Because you have to fail the test, and that can sometimes mean you have to suffer the effects of the test. But what Live and Learn is very good for is protecting important tests. Or alternatively, as I saw this, I did a video with one of Valentine's decks, deck builder on ArkhamDB, does the 20, 30, 40k series, and all like the bunch of the new player guides on ArkhamDB. And they use Live and Learn to protect a scavenging trigger to get the Hyperphysical Shopcaster back in a Rita deck, in case you drew the auto fail on like your investigation, which was really cool. So like I think that there is a lot to make up for the fact that I think it's just like a worse lucky. But the thing I really love about Live and Learn is that to me it's like the perfect embodiment of the survivor class. Card is absolutely great. Take Heart. Wow, that was a great pack for survivor cards. Holy shit. Take Heart. It's a survivor skill. It's innate, max 1 committed per skill test. You may commit Take Heart to any type of skill test. If it fails, the performing investigator draws 2 cards and gain 2 resources. Yeah. So I'm going to set my own bias aside, because I actually am not a huge fan of Take Heart because I don't want to fail my tests. But card is actually great. Close to fantastic even. All right, I'm going to put my bias aside even further. Is this card fantastic? Yeah, I think it is. I think if I really just strip away my own personal preference for the card, I think the card is legit incredible. And it is funny because like Holy Helicopter, you're 100% right. Most of the time, you're not failing a test for Take Heart. You're doing an investigate action for 2 cards and 2 resources, which is also like a completely fair rate. I do think that Take Heart is the best when you actually fail a test. I do wish it said you only commit Take Heart to Take Heart to any type of test that you did not initiate. You know, because then you like had to use it during the Mythos phase, where I think like the card would be even cooler because of that. Once again, functionally, I'm glad it's not that way, but it's one of those things where like I love the whole getting like a bunch of resources for failing tests and cards, right? It is a bit awkward when you need to like actually do the investigate, and like you need to like, if you're doing it the investigate way, and you have to like move to a Force Shroud location to get the cards and the resources, but like it does so much in here that is like really good. But I don't like the card. For me, I think the card is just good, but I think if I like strip away my own biases, I think it's fantastic or great, but I'm gonna put in fantastic. Oh yeah, this card, Against All Odds. 2 cost, 2 experience, Spirit, Event, and Survivor. Fast play when you perform a skill test with a difficulty higher than your base skill value. Reveal X additional chaos tokens. Choose 1 to resolve and ignore the rest. X is the difference between the test difficulty and your base skill value. This card's not great, right? I don't even think this card is fine. Like, it's just a bit too much all across the board. Perform a skill test. So like Charlie, Calvin, Preston. Because otherwise, what are you doing? You're fishing for like a fucking Elder Sign? Yeah, I'm actually even going to put this into the I regret playing this card, because I just been too experienced for this effect. No thank you. Trench Coat! 3 cost, body slot, neutral, soaks for 2. You get +1 foot during evasion attempts. Card's fine. Card's fine. It does its job, right? Like, it does exactly what it says on the tin. And that's awesome. Like, you'll know when you want it, and you'll probably enjoy it, and then you'll probably cut it. And that's fine. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Ornate Bow. This is another neutral. It's another neutral weapon. Takes up both hand slots, 4 cost, 3 experience. Item, relic, weapon, ranged. 1 ammo uses, and you can only have 1 ammo on the Ornate Bow. As an action, spend an ammo to fight. This attack uses foot instead of fist. You get +2 foot and deal +2 damage for this attack. As an action, you knock another arrow. Place an ammo on Ornate Bow. What a cool card. This card is so sick. Everyone loves it, and it's really fun to play with. And the gameplay loop is actually like engaging with the Ornate Bow, because I was actually playing this also on Tuesday. And there was very much like some stuff where I was like, I'll do my bow this turn, but then like something came up and you're like, okay, I guess I'll get to my bow next turn, you know? I think the card is great. I don't think it's fantastic, because like the gameplay loop is very specific for it, but it kills, man. It kills. It kills, and it's also fun to play with, which I think is really enjoyable. So I'm going to also exhaust the bow instead of putting a token on it. That's a neat way of doing it. I don't, because YouTube will yell at me. All right, we got the M1918 Bar. This is a Guardian firearm item weapon. Takes up both hand slots, 5 cost, 4 experience. Uses 8 ammo. Spend 1 to 5 ammo, fight. You get +X fist for this attack. Instead of its standard damage, this attack deals X damage, where X is the amount of ammo spent as part of this ability's cost. Like, this motherfucker pops with contraband, right? Like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? It's so expensive. Let's look at the baseline, okay? Baseline is 4 shots at 2 plus 2 damage. That's like worst case scenario, right? Excuse me. I mean, with Contraband, this card is crazy. It's really fun, but then like, yeah, 4 shots at plus 2 damage is also level 245 automatic. It's true, and like that's a pretty bad baseline. I think this card's just fine. I don't think I regret playing this because it has the home where I think it's really fun. But I don't think the weapon excites me. Not at all. All right. We're in Ancient Stone territory. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Ancient Stone. So this is the level 4 version. This is Knowledge of the Elders. You can only include this asset if you've upgraded the thing. It has X secrets, where X is the number of recorded in the parentheses. And then as a reaction, when you draw any number of cards, spend that many secrets, deal that much damage to an enemy at your location. Yo! I think... Russ? Where are you? Are you coming down? You want to say hi to everybody? Why are we going to be out at the top of the stairs like a weirdo? Come here. Let's say hi to everybody. Do you want to sit in my arms like a baby? This is a great video to do it in because I'm just talking and scrolling with my mouse. So why don't you come sit in my arms like a little baby, Russ? Oh, come in this way. Come in this way. Oh, okay. Cooperate. Cooperate. There you go. There you go. All right. Yo. So, I'd love some intel from people at home because this is the first card that I feel like I want to put in the busted tier. But that might just be because of my Harvey deck, but I feel like this card's busted. It's so good. It's so good. Like, its bottom is here. Right? Like, that's its lowest tier. Like, it's not going below fantastic. Russ, if you want to be here. Sorry, did I not make it comfy enough for you? You wanted to sit the other way? Alright. Busted? Alright. Because that's where my gut's telling me. I feel like this card's busted. Excuse me. Card is just, like, insane. Like, card is just absolutely wild. And, like, you can just, like, refill the secrets. You can buy 2 of them. You can have 2 in play. You can have, like, 8 secrets on it, too, when it comes into play. Card's insane. And then we got Mind and Harmony. So this one heals horror. And I'm going to be honest. I think this card's one that actually is pretty good. I think it's good. This has saved me and Eric in our run. I've healed like 9 horror. We're gonna like because as I said earlier in the video, we did a Shrewd Analysis. Its passive healing is good. Passive healing is very good. I even feel like I could put this to great. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm feeling a little bit spicy. I'm putting it to great. I'm doing it. I think all Ancient Stones, bottom line, are great. Even the movement one, because it's just passive, right? Like, that's what makes these so good, is that these are just passive effects giving you more. You're drawing cards naturally in your deck because you're a Seeker deck, because you have to be a level 0-5 Seeker to play this, except for if you're Ursula, but she's also a Seeker who can do this. But it's like one of those things where just like passively being able to do things is a winning recipe in this game. Slip away. Evade. This is a rogue event. Hi, Russ. It's a trick. Evade. Add your book to your skill value for this evasion attempt. If you succeed by 2 or more and the evaded enemy is not elite, it does not ready during the next upkeep phase. Freeze the enemy. Russ, you make this hard. Oh, good card. Locking down enemies is nice. I think the rate for this card is very good. 2 cost and 2 costs to do this. I think is just really fair. I like it. I dig the card. Payday. Gain 1 resource for each action you perform this turn, including this one, if it is your turn and your turn. This is a 0 cost, 1 experience rogue event. It's illicit and fated. So worst case scenario, this is an emergency cash that you need to pay for. You need to pay an experience for, and you do it as your last action only. Best case scenario, this thing can net you 4 to 5 resources. Hey, buddy. I'm mad that you adjusted yourself this way. You're like, this is the way I want to go, and because I'm a cat, I'm going to go the way I want to go. I kind of want to put this in the great. I think Payday is a great card. I think I'm going to put it up in the great tier. I think Payday is actually great. I don't think it's hard to get more than an emergency cash. And I think also, like, its baseline of worst case scenario, you just replace your emergency caches in your deck with it. I think Payday is actually actively great. Sacrifice. 0 cost, 1 experience, mystic event. It's a ritual. Discard a mystic asset you control, then draw 3 cards or gain 3 resources or any combination thereof. This card is also great. Oh, no, Russ didn't grab it there. There we go. I think this card is also great. Really good in Mystic decks, obviously, because you need Mystic assets, which was a dumb thing to say, but I had a reason for it. But just like, it's really great in Mystic decks because a lot of your stuff is very... You're going to empty your spells, you're going to have Doom on assets, and you're just going to want to, like, get rid of it, and I think it's, like, very good for that kind of stuff. No, I should not have brought that out. I'm sorry. That's just a pen. You don't need to worry about that, okay? Yeah, and just like cards and resources... Very good. Very good. All right, next up we got the Crystalline Elder Sign. 3 cost, 3 experience. It takes up the accessory slot. It's an item relic blessed. Seal +1 or the Elder Sign. You get +1 to all your stats. Yeah. I think the card's good. I don't think it's particularly great. Honestly, the accessory slot is just... the accessory slot is kind of just more competitive, and funnily enough, a passive +1 to all of your stats is not worth it for 3 experience most of the time. Because, like, in most Mystics, you're probably fine with just, like, your Holy Rosaries, right? And I don't think it's worth 3 experience to also have your other stuff be there as well, right? I think that's the thing, right? Like, I think this the problem with Crystalline Elder Sign is that it's actually just a very fair card for its cost, right? Like, its cost is fair, its experience cost is fair, and its effect is fair, you know? I like playing with it. I think it's a good card, but I don't think it's in the tier with all of these cards up here. I think these cards are all much better than Crystalline Elder Sign. Cool card, though. On Your Own. 2 cost, 3 experience. This is the non-permanent one. Limit 1 per investigator. Discard on your own if you control an asset that takes up an ally slot. When you play a survivor event, exhaust on your own. Reduce that event's cost by 2. Bad news on your own. What's up, Julie? Alright, bad news on your own. I regret playing you. Because I would just play the permanent version. Thank you. I think that this should have just been the permanent version from the get-go. I think that the cards that you're designed to build your deck around, like Sharpshooter, for example, is another one. should just be permanent, because you're sacrificing or like focusing your deck to do a certain thing. And if this just happens to be in the bottom 5 cards of your deck, like both copies, like get fucked, right? Like it sucks. And it's one of those things where I don't want to play this one, and I don't think I ever will, apart from, this year. Alright, Handcuffs. 2 cost. Item Police, slotless Guardian asset. As an action, if Handcuffs is not attached to an enemy, evade. Use only on a humanoid enemy. This evasion attempt uses fist instead of foot. If you succeed, attach Handcuffs to the just evaded enemy. If the attached enemy is non-elite, it cannot ready, and Doom cannot be placed on it. I'm gonna put this in good. I think it's close to great. Like the windows where this card can actually be great they're there, and they're pretty big, and you can like get through those windows pretty easily. The problem is I don't think those are like, I think like that's why you play Handcuffs, not why like Handcuffs. Like I think that's why Handcuffs is played, not why you play Handcuffs, right? You play Handcuffs because you're gaming something. You're not playing Handcuffs because you're just like, I guess I'm just going to use this to just like tap down enemies. I think it's good for that effect, and that's why I'm giving it a good. I think like when you're gaming stuff, it's in great, but I think for its general play, it's still just a good card, and I think I should, and other people should, just play this card as just enemy removal, right? As opposed to not even just gaming an enemy, just like locking enemies up, and I think it's pretty good for that. Blood Eclipse. 1 cost, 3 experience, spell, spirit, and the Guardian class. As initial cost to play Blood Eclipse, take up to 3 damage. Fight. This attack uses brain instead of fist. You get +1 brain and deal +1 damage to the attack for each damage taken as part of this card's cost. I mean, a lot of text on this card is really good, but I haven't seen anyone play it. I haven't seen anyone like talk about playing it. The illustration goes fucking hard. It goes hard. I think the big problem with Blood Eclipse is that I think it's just missing, like it has homes where it's playable, but it's like missing that home where you're like I want to play, like Blood Eclipse needs to go in this deck, and I think it's missing that. I think like Lily Chen is now like the best user of this card because you Blood Eclipse something, and then you just heal with your brain discipline. And I think that's like a pretty legit home for it, but it still doesn't feel like the best home for it, you know? I don't know, it just feels like there's still something missing. I don't know. Blood Eclipse, baby. Feed the Mind. 2 cost, 3 experience, takes up a spell slot. Uses 3 secrets. Exhaust Feed the Mind and spend a secret. Test book 0. For each point succeeded by draw a card, then take a horror for each card in your hand. Excess of your maximum hand size. Shame Hank can't run it. We don't know if Hank can run it. We don't know Hank's deck building yet. So Hank might be able to run it. Who knows? Hank might just be like, they killed Parr and then just like pulling blood out of his hand with a blood knife and stabbing the things that killed Parr. Feed the Mind. So this was also in my Harvey deck, and I never upgraded it because the other things were better. I don't think this card is like that good, is it? It's just so expensive, and like you can just buy Perception 2 and you have like better card draw. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put this in the fine tier. Because, like, the card's not bad, but it's not, like, good. So I'm going to put it in fine. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. Cold Vest Pocket, 2 cost. Oh, this is the level 0 version. Oh no. Takes up the hand slot. This is a rogue, item, weapon, firearm, illicit. Uses 5 ammo. As an action, spend an ammo fight. You get +1 fist for this attack. This attack deals +1 damage. At the end of the round, discard Cold Vest Pocket. Man, you got to do a lot of work for this card, and it's not really worth it at level 0. I tried it in a Dexter deck. I like the upgraded one. The upgraded one's like a fun weapon. Obviously, like if you're playing Joey the Rat or like Sleight of Hand, it becomes like you're gaming it a little bit. Wish it cost more but was fast. Honestly, this motherfucker could cost 2 and be fast and be the exact same text. And I think that it's would still be as played. Like I think it would like have a better home then. You just get to shoot someone 3 times. Because you only get +1 as well. Like only Tony really benefits from like the being able to shoot it. I don't think the card has homes. I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it down here. I don't think the card is even good enough to be up in the fine tier IMO. Coup de Grace! 2 damage event. Tactic faded. Deal 1 damage to an enemy or location. If this effect defeats that enemy, draw 1 card. If it is your turn, end your turn. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. For if you were asking me, I think this card's great, but really it's just fine. Really, this card is just fine. I don't even like... I love it. I play it a bunch, but I still think the card is just kind of okay. So we're going to put it in the fine tier. The Skeleton Key. Exceptional and fast. It's a rogue, 3 cost, 2 experience, so it actually costs you 4. Item, Relic, Cursed. Attach the skeleton key to your location. If it is already attached to your location, detach it and return it to your play area instead. Set the attached location's shroud value to 1. I don't think the card's great, so I think it's just good. It's just like it does a lot. It does do a lot for the players in the game, especially like low book investigators. Gives them a chance to like pop through locations. The problem is that it's so action intensive. I would love it if this had like the pitchfork from Hemlock Vale, where any player may do the action on it. Yeah, and it definitely does a lot of work in concealed. Like, I don't think the card is like... I just don't think the card's great. 4 experience is also a lot when I would just rather, like, upgrade my lockpicks, get Lucky Cigarette Case 3, get Lola, and just, like, no-brain it. But I think it's a good card. Mists of Aurelia level 4. So now you get +3 brain, 5 charges instead. You still move to a connecting location after evading. It's you choose, and still only 1 card from your hand. So like the downside doesn't get worse, and the upside just gets better. So that's nice. I gave this one a good, and honestly, this one can live in the exact same tier. I don't think it's better enough for me to put it into great, because it's still just an evade spell. It's a good evade spell, but it's still just an evade spell, and we know I don't like evade spells here. Whew, okay. Oh, my throat. Alright. We're almost done, though. We're on to the last 1, 2, 3, 4 chunk of cards. We're into the last little bit here. Winging It. This is a 1 cost, 0 level 0 survivor card. Tactic Improvise. You may play Winging It from your discard pile. If you do, shuffle into your deck after resolving its effects. Action, Investigate. Your location gets -1 Shroud for the investigation. If you played Winging It from your discard pile, discover 1 additional clue if you succeed. I'm going to put this card in Great. Mostly because I don't feel bad about playing this card for 1. Right? With all these other ones, I would rather, like when you're fighting, you're using a weapon, right? It's like the -1 fight. You want to get this one in first because you don't want to like spend 1 to fight a -1 and spend 1. But I'll spend 1 to investigate with a lantern for an action, right? And I think that being like that puts it above, and also just like clues are good. Good card. I'm going to give it a Great. Old Hunting Rifle. 3 cost, 3 experience. Uses 3 ammo. Takes up 2 hand slots. As an action, spend an ammo fight. You get +3 fist and deal +2 damage with this attack. That's really good. That's really good. If a skull or autofail symbol is revealed during this attack, the rifle jams. It automatically fails. Before you can activate this ability again, you must perform the following ability. Action, you clear the jam. This is a great weapon, right? Like, this weapon is just like a fucking banger. People just don't want to use it because it's inconsistency, but like it's actually like not that bad. I'm going to put this in Great. I think it's a great weapon. If it jams, like the automatically failing on the jam does suck. If it jams, then just act of desperation it. I mean, I think this card is actually, like, pretty great. I can see why people don't play it, right? Because it's risky, right? It's risky. And it's not consistent. And people, like myself included, want consistency in this game. But I think all the numbers on the card are really good. Like, this is something a survivor needs to pay 5 experience for, and like 5 cost. Unless it's Flamethrower. Yeah, great card. Thermos. Oh no. Oh no. 4 cost. Item uses 3 supplies. As an action, spend a supply, exhaust Thermos, and heal a damage from investigated location. 2 damage instead if he or she has 2 or more physical trauma. As an action, spend a supply, exhaust Thermos, heal 1 horror from an investigated location. 2 horror instead if they have 2 or more mental trauma. Yo, this ain't worth it. Even in decks where people have a lot of mental trauma or physical trauma, just don't touch it. Don't, trust me, don't touch it. I know there's stories, I've seen stories of people being like, but Thermos helped us here. And yeah, I don't doubt it. All of these cards in this game are going to have moments where they shine. But Thermos ain't it. It ain't it. It's not it. Hemispheric Map. 2 cost, 3 experience. Item Relic. Takes up the accessory slot. While your current location is connected to at least 2 other locations, you get +1 brain and +1 book. While your current location is connected to at least 4 other locations, you get an additional. So, really, this card just gives you a book and a brain. I think it's fine. The bottom text might as well not be there. It's so gravy. But when it happens, it's great. But the card's not bad, because it really is just 2 for brain and a book. Yeah, it's fine. Timeworn Brand. Hey, 5 cost, 5 experience. Takes up a hand slot. Item relic weapon melee. As an action, if it's ready, fight. You get +2 fist and deal +1 damage for this attack. As an action, you can exhaust Timeworn Brand. Add your brain to your skill value for this attack. If this attack deals +3 damage, if this attack defeats an enemy, draw 3 cards, max once per game. I mean, I think it's a great weapon. I think it's a very powerful weapon. It's very expensive experience-wise, but it just does the thing. It just does what it says on the tin, right? It just hits things, and you're happy with it. Yeah, and it was the go-to weapon for non-Guardians for a very long time. Now other classes have weapons they can fight with, but still, if you're playing like Timeworn Brand in your Silas deck, I'll be like, cool, brother, go for it. Fuck it. If you're playing Timeworn Brand in a Guardian deck, I'll also just be like, yeah, I get it. Like, the card's just, like, pretty damn good. Speaking of pretty damn good, here's Kerosene. 3 costs, 1 experience. Uses 3 supplies. If it has no supplies, discard it. If an enemy was defeated at this location this round, exhaust Kerosene and spend a supply. Heal up to 2 horror from among investigators and ally assets at your location. I regret playing this. No, thank you. Thank you, though, Kerosene. That's really kind of you. But, no thanks. That's so many hoops to jump through. And, like, you're the one who's usually killing the enemies if you're the Guardian. Like, I understand why this card is the way it is. But, like, it's not, like, why we're here, I think. It's not like, it does not spark joy. Speaking of sparking joy, let's spark some Flamethrower. Flamethrower, 4 cost, 5 experience. It takes up the body slot in both hand slots, uses 4 ammo, spend on ammo, fight. The enemy chosen for this attack must be the enemy engaged with you with the highest fight value. You get +4 fist for this attack. If this is successful instead of a standard damage, you may assign up to 4 damage among enemies engaged with you. Any additional damage adds to this total. Yo, this can live in fantastic. I never actually played with this card for a very long time. I played with it for the first time in, we did a Guardians of the Abyss run I did with some patrons. And I lit shit up as Mark Harrigan, and it was fucking awesome. Card just basically reads, you get +4 damage, so you get +4 fist, and this attack deals +3 damage. To single target enemies. If you have multiple enemies, you just get to save on actions and just roast them up. It's a very good card. And dare I say it, 5 experience is actually a steal, so much so that it was tabooed to 6. They gave you Vantage Point in the last pack of this cycle? What the hell? Alright, 1 cost event. It's a Seeker. Vantage Point. Fast. Play after location enters player's revealed during investigator's turn. Until the end of the active investigator's turn, that location gets -1 shroud. You may move 1 clue to that location from any other location. So, I think this card's fine. Excuse me. I actually used it to great effect recently while I was doing my play all cards and just like trying some stuff out. But I don't think it is particularly impressive for an effect, but I can see, I've experienced situations where it actually like does the thing, and like that's kind of sick. So yeah, Vantage Point, it's fine. The Necrotic Manuscripts. This is a 5 cost, 5 experience, Seeker item relic tome asset that takes up the hand slot. It uses 3 secrets, and as a reaction when an investigator at your location would perform a skill test during a revelation effect, spend 1 secret. Do not reveal chaos tokens for that test. As an action, spend 1 secret, choose an investigator location. Do not reveal chaos tokens for the next skill test that investigator performs this round. It's expensive, but I mean, like, it uses secrets, which, as we know, are pretty easy to refill. And, like, not drawing tokens is really good. So I'm going to put this up in the great tier. I don't think it's up in fantastic, but I do think it is a very, very, very powerful effect. And we mostly don't play it, I imagine, just because it's kind of boring. But if I build a secret deck that just used this, it would be easy. The game would be over, and, like, the card is very good. Is it fantastic? I don't think so. Maybe it is. Is it maybe fantastic? Yeah, but I think for me it's just a bit too much. If it was like 3 cost and 5 experience, then we're talking. But 5 cost, 5 is a bit too much to lock it out of that tier. Borrowed Time. 1 cost, 3 experience. It's exceptional, so it actually costs 6. This is a rogue asset that takes up the spell slot, and it's a ritual. As an action, place 1 resource on Borrowed Time as a click to a maximum of 3 clicks on Borrowed Time. Do not provoke attacks. This does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Force. When your turn begins, remove all clicks from Borrowed Time. You may take that many additional actions this turn. That's a fun card. I don't think it's particularly great. I'm just going to put it in good. It's fun, and I've used it to great effect, and it's like a blast when I do. But it really kind of just feels like it's like I took this turn off, so I'm going to use this turn next turn. And I don't think that's particularly impressive when you could just use those turns to like set up those turns. I don't know. There's just something about it that like keeps it out of being great, and I'm sure most people would agree. All in. This is a 5 experience rogue skill. It's a fortune. Commits for double wild. Max 1 committed per skill test. If this test is successful, draw a card for each point you succeed by to a maximum of 5, and shuffle each weakness drawn by this effect back into your deck without resolving it. So, yeah, nobody in the box could take this. Like, Travis put this in a Finn deck because he was like, it came in Finn's box, Finn's campaign, or Finn's cycle. It should, in theory, go in Finn. Nah, it doesn't. Like, that's so weird to me that, like, I mean, yeah, you can put it in Skid's O'Toole if you have the core set and Forgotten Age, but this really should have been changed to be playable by Finn. It really should have, I think. The effect is nice. The effect is really nice, but it does cost 5 experience. So I think I'm just going to put in the good tier because 5 experience is a lot to draw 5 cards. It's good, but I mean, like, for 0, this is probably just going to draw you 5 cards over the course of the game. Right? So I don't know. I think it's just a good effect. And it sucks that Finn can't play it because he was in his cycle and he should be able to. An investigator should be able to play every card in their cycle. That's like, you know, in their main class color. It just feels a bit strange. Shards of the Void. 3 cost, 3 experience. Takes up the spell slot. This is the Seal 0 one. Seal 0 uses 3 charges. As an action, spend a charge or release a chaos token sealed here. Fight. This attack uses Brain instead of Fist and deals +1 damage. You get +2 to Brain for this attack for each 0 token sealed on Shards of the Void. For each 0 token revealed during this attack, seal 1 token on Shards of the Void, and this attack deals 1 additional damage. This is such a cool spell that unfortunately doesn't make the cut because other shit is just more consistent. And it has like upgrades that you can do. It works with Arcane Research. It works with Down the Rabbit Hole. It works with that problem I said ages ago when I was talking about Arcane Research, that the problem with Mystics isn't that Arcane Research exists, is that like their card pool makes Arcane Research a necessity, right? And that's what caused Shard of the Void to kind of just sit here. If there was a level 0 Shards of the Void would instantly become more playable. And I'm surprised there isn't one. Because it would really just mean like this card would like see a reason to be played more. But I think all the text on the card is very powerful, right? And it's one of those weird things where just like, I don't know. I think it's a good card though. I think like the text on it is good. Shard of the Void is the softest drawback out of the attack spells. Yeah, like you mean the drawback of just it seals 0s? But it doesn't actually, because those are just charges, baby. Alright. I mean, like Shriveling Dealing Horror? Oh, yeah, no, but the thing is, it doesn't have a drawback, right? The only drawback is that it seals zeros, right? Because there's no actual downside to using Shards of the Void. Because then the only thing would be that it just takes the zeros away. So like it doesn't even have a drawback. Seal 0 also doesn't have the +2 boost on the last attack. If you even use it as the last attack. You can just play another thing and then just like discard it and get the 0 back anyway. You don't even actually necessarily need to do the last attack on it. Because every time you get a 0 on it, you just fire that 0 first and keep your starting 0 on it. It's really good. I played it in a Jacqueline deck and it was really nice. Seal of the 7th Sign. 4 cost, 5 experience. Takes up the spell slot. Spell ritual. Seal the auto-fail. Goodbye, baby. Uses 7 charges. If it has no charges or at least play, remove it from the game. Forced after a skull, cultist, tablet, or squid is revealed during any skill test. Remove 1 charge from Seal of the 7th Sign. This card is very interesting because it's one of those cards that actually scales worse with more players. Because it means more people are going to be drawing tokens and breaking your beautiful 5 experience card. I think it's like still a good card. It is expensive, but the effect is really good, and it's very easy to also like just build around to go better. I say this because I played this recently with Norman Withers, and the card did a lot of work there. I think it's better than fine as well. I think like the base thing of just like you have 5 experience, you put this in your deck, you seal the 7th sign for like a bunch of not the 7th sign, the Elder sign for a bunch of the auto fail. You don't want to seal the other sign. Sorry, we're at 2.5 hours. My brain is kind of mush at this point. If you seal the auto fail for just even like I don't know, even worst case like 7 tests. Probably not worth it there, but like 10 tests, it's like, that's nice. So I think it's still just a good. We got Impromptu Barrier. This is the last of the improvised cycle. It's a 1-cost event. You may play Impromptu Barrier from your discard pile. If you do, shuffle into your deck after resolving its effects. Evade. The chosen enemy gets -1 evade for this evasion attempt. If you play it from your discard pile, you may evade an additional enemy at the same location with evade value X is lower, where X is the amount you succeeded by. Should be no surprise. Great for the clue one. Good for the fight one. And the Impromptu Barrier is just, for the evade one, is just fine. Sorry. Bad news. Bad news. Last card! We did it! Oh my god. Okay. Alter Fate. 1 cost, 3 experience. Fast. Play during any Lightning Bolt player window. Choose and discard from a play a non-weakness treachery that is not attached to an elite enemy. Hey Russ, you back to end the video? We're coming to make some mischief. How do you always knock this off? Okay, I'm torn between great and fantastic. I think this card is incredible. Hi Russ, how's it going? The card is very powerful. And I'm going to put it in, I think I'm going to put it in great. I don't think it's enough for fantastic, but it is very close. It does so much at a lot of points in it. And it's fast. And it's a survivor card, so it practically costs 0 experience. Russ, why are you just hanging out there? But I think I'm going to put it in great. I think it's a great card. Okay, come on up. Sweet! That's it! we have completed our re-ranking of the Forgotten Age. Russ, why are you... Just sit normally. We have completed our ranking of the Forgotten Age 5-ish years later. And yeah, so we can scroll through. One busted for this one. Again, Arcane Research, this is like my personal thought on it. If you put it in busted, go for it, more power to you. But for me, it's in fantastic. I don't think it's busted. I think it's actually, dare I say it, reasonable at this point now. And we got all these fantastic cards here, a lot of bangers, a lot of great cards in this great section. You love to see it. Again, I'm going to have a link. There's going to be a link to this down in the video description as well for you to like check out the thing outside of the video as well, or during the video while you were watching. And then we got the fine... Don't scratch me, buddy, please. Fine cards over here. And then just a few stinkers down in the... I regret playing this. But definitely less stinkers than Carcosa. Carcosa, if I remember, had a lot of stinkers. But other than that, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed all 2.5 hours of me yammering about my opinions on cards. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.